Hello, hello. As you know, I am creating a series of videos to explain, well, it's not to explain, it's to share what I am discovering now, how we could use ChatGPT to boost our learning process. So I am discovering how to create questions, different ways of how the best ways to create questions to ask things to ChatGPT. One of the tips that I found on the internet is to ask ChatGPT to act as a professional, different types of professional. And since we are learning programming language, so we will ask ChatGPT to act as a teacher, and we will ask ChatGPT to check my knowledge on functions in Python. So, and you can see that already ChatGPT offered us a list of 10 items to check our overall knowledge of functions. So if you are okay with everything that is written here, congratulations. If not, what would be your next step? If you are not able to ask to answer the first question, you would go here and give me a very detailed answer for the first question, please. And then you will obtain your answer. Later we will go there to see the answers and to discuss them. But for now, I would like to explain how I will use these explanations from ChatGPT. Not to make videos too long, I will divide the questions in groups, and you will have several videos to cover all the topics. So if you are okay with the first items, maybe it's better for you to go to see other videos already. But if you want to check your understanding or check what ChatGPT offers, or if you want to see how the ideas or tips, how am I using it, please enjoy the video. So let's go. The next question was, I asked ChatGPT to answer the first question. And what I like about ChatGPT, it's always very happy to help us to explain the questions. If you do not understand, you can ask as many questions as you want. So in Python, function is a named block of code. So already we have we practiced to create several blocks of code to solve our problems. And as we saw previously, there are some blocks of code that we need to repeat again and again. For example, when we were programming verification of the user input, there were some problems that we needed to write the same code 2-3 times, and with only small differences, but basically the same code again and again. So if you can break your program into small blocks, you probably would be able to create functions, basically to perform specific task or set of tasks. Yes, so there is an explanation of how do we use this. So you can stop the video and read through the explanation, or better, you can ask similar question to your ChatGPT. And probably, no, it's not probably, I'm pretty sure that your answer will bring the same ideas, but in different way. So if what is written here on my screen is not clear for you, you can ask similar question using a little bit different words, and you will obtain similar answer, but using different phrases, ideas. So if something is not very clear, ask the same or similar questions again and again till you will be okay. So in the first question, we already obtained some information about input values, which are called arguments or parameters. Yes, so this is already, I can see sometimes ChatGPT can give us a little bit wrong ideas. And this could be a little bit problematic, maybe not that crucial, because later when we will learn other things, you will understand, no, well, wait a minute, it will, ChatGPT informed me that they can be called arguments or parameters, but that's not the case, and we will discuss this. So, but overall, You need to use ChatGPT for brainstorming. So you will obtain examples. And by the way, using videos from YouTubers or from other sources, maybe from books, it's more, you can maybe from books, it's more sure information, sure sources of information, but when you check some videos on the YouTube, those are very, this kind of information is mostly interpretation of different people, and there could be some kind of a misinterpretation or not 100% exact information. So you need to be aware anyway on that this information can be not precise. So you can look or check the ideas, try to understand, and if there are some, or you can question. So the best thing to do is to question. So for example, in this case, which are called arguments or parameters, you can ask the question, so why do we have two words? And you will see, you can try it. You can stop the video and try, ask GPT if this is the right answer. So yes, so another tip to use ChatGPT is to question or criticize or ask, is it the precise description? So why do we have arguments and parameters? So be more, you need to practice critical thinking about everything that you find on the internet, or even in the books or tutorials. You should be critical. So do not take everything as an absolute truth. So it's about argument and parameters. We will take a look on this a little bit later. We will discuss this subject. Yes, so how do we define functions with a def keyword? And here we have an example. If you will read through all the text, all the explanation here, or asking this same or similar question to your ChatGPT, you will see that this explanation is a little bit technical. It's written with it's written very well, I would say, in general. But for someone who is starting now the journey into programming, this text could feel a little bit overwhelming. So if it's the case, you can ask ChatGPT to explain to a kid. So using more easy to understand examples. So you can change how you ask this question, but this was one of the recommendations that I found on the internet, to ask ChatGPT to explain to a kid some different concept or idea. And here we have very interesting example of the explanation of functions in Python. Well, it's not important which language we are using. Overall, functions are very important concept in any programming language, or most of them, I would say. So, and you can see another explanation in a less technical way to understand why do we need functions overall. If it's not good enough, you can change once again and ask, re-explain using other examples till you will be more comfortable with this concept. Please be sure that everybody who is new to programming feels very uncomfortable when the functions are introduced, because it's something new. It's another way of thinking process. So people are not comfortable. It's for most of new people coming, or people without any programming background, it's very abstract concept. So the best thing to do is to read as much explanation or examples to simplify those concepts, but the best way is to create or to see how functions are created and to see more examples. Yes, so examples are very crucial. And you can ask ChatGPT to give you examples with explanation and so on, so on. So let's take a look about examples. So first example that was given to us by ChatGPT, example of a function that will add two numbers. So we understand what's the problem, and we can see how the function was created. So basically, we have the keyword that will inform Python that we are creating a function. Then we will give a name. This name should be very descriptive to explain, to self-explanatory, I would say, what the function is doing. And then we will write what do we need to be able to execute function, to work with the information. So this is the input values that we will need. And basically, what do we need to do when we add numbers? We want to obtain a result. And why do we run the function? To inform this result elsewhere. There are some functions that we do not return a result. Probably print function, it will not return. It will only display on the console some information. But normally we, in the most of the cases, we use functions to return some values, or saying it differently, we will do something with our input information, and we will give some result. This result could be a lot of things. In this case, this will be a number, another number, because when we use number plus number, it will be another number. Float or integer, it will depend on the numbers. But overall, we will have two numbers. We will process, we will do something with them, and then we will give a result to be used elsewhere in our programs. For now, it's still, I understand that this could be a little bit not very clear how it works, but with having more and more examples or trying this by yourself, you will understand better. Second example, checking if a number is even. So we will call this is even, or seeing that checking is a number, if a number is even, I would change this name to check if is even, or check is even. It is very good to describe, sorry here. So here it's not important, because here we will return a Boolean value. So maintaining this way is a very common practice. So yes, in some way we are checking, so we can give another name, but considering that we are returning Booleans, the most common way to write this kind of function is maintain is even, or is positive, is negative. This is very common names. Sorry, I was a little bit lost here. Yes, so this name is very good, considering that we are returning Booleans. But it doesn't mean that you can change this name to something else that is more clear goal that will describe what this function is doing precisely. And as I said, not all the function will return something to our program. Sometimes it's only for user to receive some message. And in this way, in this example, we have our greet function, that when this function is called, you will see the information in the console. So it will write, for example, my name Yulia. So it will run hello Yulia, and this is information that you will see as an output from this function. And another thing that you need to know is that ChatGPT is very good, is very useful to summarize the information. So here we have a summary. By using function in Python, we achieve the following benefits. We can avoid writing the same code multiple times in our programs, which save us time. Do you remember how we were doing copy pasting while loops for the user input? So using functions, we would be creating only one function, and each time needing to verify, to check the input from user, we would be calling this function, and that's it. No need to rewrite, copy paste 3 times in the same program, similar blocks of code. Yes, also these creating functions will be useful because this create, first of all, we need to look at our problem and to break those problems into smaller parts. And this way we would have more manageable pieces of code. And as a consequence of this, our program is much more easy to read and to understand. And yes, this avoids having too much errors. Normally creating functions, you work through your logic only once, and this avoids other problems in the future. And going to the second question, I will ask I will ask ChatGPT to define a function in Python. And I'm using the exact same question that was given for me at the very beginning. So, and what is the syntax for doing so? And we have a template for our function. So this one I liked a lot. If you want to copy the code and test in Jupyter Notebook or in another IDE key that you are using, it's a very good opportunity. But for now, this code will not do anything. So basically, this is a template, a generic template for function. So you will give a descriptive name that will explain what our function is doing, why we created it. Then you will give parameters. Parameters are not mandatory. Sometimes you will have functions with no information in the parentheses, so no parameters at all. And normally we expect some return value from the function, but once again, this is not mandatory. So all the functions, we have a variety of functions. Sometimes they will have parameters, sometimes they will return something, sometimes no. So it depends. It depends. We will have more and more examples, but this is for a generic structure and better understanding. So here, very detailed information. Breaking down each part of the syntax. So very clear and detailed information here. And once again, we apply the same example, the same template on a function that we saw previously. And that's it for the first two questions. I will show you how to answer or some notes on other questions. Thank you and see you in the next video.